Yes, everybody, welcome to this training camp edition of the Tyler Werner Show. Training camp report on the Philadelphia Eagles. As we're kind of about a week in now, and it's been, especially the past few days, it's been very eventful at the NovaCare complex for the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot going on. We're going to have some little training camp reports from the Twitter feed here from, Matt Lombardo and Brandon Lee Gouton, other guys, that are getting a glimpse of things that are going on Eagles training camp on the field today at the NovaCare Center. But we got, I guess several major storylines that we can, go through here. Obviously, things began last weekend with the trading of Brandon Boykin, obviously starting with that. To the Pittsburgh Steelers for a conditional 5th-round draft pick. And it seems in him leaving, Brandon Boykin, getting traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, it seems that another issue or another, can of worms has been opened up to some extent as far as the possible Chip Kelly racism, being a racist angle and this and that. And I guess to be fair, Brandon Boykin was not as maybe outspoken as, say, LaShawn McCoy was initially, but, Brandon Boykin was a guy who was, believed he should have been a starter at the corner position and was playing for that. He had after having a decent season a couple years ago, he kind of had a down season in 2014, and, I guess they weren't sold on him to be a starting cornerback, and they, obviously I think over what they have now, Boykin, he played like maybe a third of the snaps last year to begin with, and got traded away to the Pittsburgh Steelers. If anything, he maybe was a depth guy as far as the cornerback position goes, but he basically, some of what Brandon Boykin had to say was that Chip Kelly is not a good communicator or something like that, and it brought up the issue of possibly being racist again, and Chip Kelly, and the issue, when LaShawn McCoy was traded out of here and Deshaun Jackson, and to me, people have brought up the idea, something that Brandon Boykin said that, like, for instance, he would pass by Chip Kelly in the hallway at the NovaCare complex and whatever, and Chip wouldn't say anything. And, I look at something like that, and some people I thought maybe took that idea way out of proportion, and, I would think that, being that it's a player, what's Chip gonna do with that? Like, it's a guy who he expects to see there to begin with. Like me, for instance, like when I walk by a job or something, I might nod if it's the first time I'm seeing somebody doing that. I might nod or something. Sometimes, I might just be caught up in my own world of thought of what I'm doing or what I got to do that I might not even notice. It's not a purpose. An intentional way of ignoring somebody, especially when it's, somebody I would expect to see there. But, it's just, sometimes that's how some of us are. We're in our own world, and it doesn't really make us a bad communicator or anything. Knowing what we know about Chip Kelly is a, football guy. Like we were talking about last week, somehow nobody knew until recently, so it seemed, or the general public didn't know, that Chip Kelly was married for 7 years at one point. So, it's one of those things, like, what's Chip Kelly's going to pass by Brandon Boykin in the hallway? What's he going to say? Is he going to ask, I don't know.
How was your weekend?
Is he supposed to, catch up with him in his personal life or so? I don't know. And then by the same token, if you're going to, and see, it always goes back to this thing when I pass by people or something and they say like, oh, I saw you there. Why didn't you say hi to me? And And I like to think the same, like, well, you didn't say hi to me either, so it's, it kind of offsets things. So it's, one of those things where it's like, if you're not going to say hi either, I mean, what's the big deal in the first place? To me, it's something like that people are like, oh my God, like, he passed by his own player in the hallway and he didn't even say hi to him. And, it's like, really, are we going to look at that? Is that really a major issue? I don't think that is. And I think the thing that the common theme here is it all goes back to 2 years ago, right around this time, when Riley Cooper, the Eagles were in a desperate situation, I guess, wide receiver wise, because, of course, Jeremy Maclin, at that time, we'd just known was going to miss the entire 2013 season. So desperately, many people, including myself, at that time were saying, all right, cut Riley Cooper. This is a PR problem. You don't need him. Find somebody else. But I guess had Jeremy Maclin not be hurt, let's put it that way, I got to think that Riley Cooper would have been gone at that point. But, without Deshaun Jackson, I mean, the Eagles were thin at wide receiver without Deshaun Jackson at that time. And I feel like so much, with what happened with Riley Cooper a couple years ago, so, everything that went down and the fact that he was kept by, I think a lot of these racial accusations of Chip Kelly, they go back to that. To Riley Cooper still being on this team. I think that's the bottom line. And Chip was asked about it the other day, and he kind of said, I don't have time to, I guess make the connections or whatever. And it's just one of these things, like, and I mean, Chip, to some extent, he has done. Like, when LaShawn McCoy was traded out of here and these accusations start, that Chip Kelly was a racist because, McCoy had some silly things to say and didn't have any backing up of them whatsoever. And, Chip would, Chip called him a couple times and never got an answer, never got a call back or whatever from LaShawn McCoy. And, the rest is history that we don't need to go through again because LaShawn McCoy is, LaShawn McCoy. The same guy that used the Buffalo Bills logo in advertising a supposed get-together that never happened at all, apparently, from what I heard, late last month in July. So, we can, I guess we can flush that out of our minds. But, so, I mean, Chip, I guess, apparently made an attempt to, I guess, talk about that. And now, all he has to do here, I mean, maybe just address this a little more. I guess there's a perception that exists. Maybe not everybody in the locker room believes it. I mean, of Chip Kelly being racist or whatever. And maybe just coming out and communicating a little, like, asserting that more, maybe could get rid of this whole perception. I mean, I know he's all absorbed in football, but in this case, when there's a perception out there like this, that, several players, I mean, you got to at least come out and try to address a little more. I mean, nip it in the butt, I guess, is a good way of putting it. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, maybe, this issue, it's another, I guess, issue that's going to subside here, but, as things proceed through training camp and other things go on, and as we get to the preseason and further on, I guess, but maybe to prevent it from continuing to come back, I mean, when it comes to things like this, maybe, come out and have a good discussion about it, maybe. Address it head on. Now, I guess as we get through, some of the details here of training camp, obviously, a lot coming out the past few days. I mean, we'll start, DeMarco Murray, apparently, he was dehydrated on the first practice or whatever, earlier in the week, and he did not practice because of that. And now yesterday, apparently him and a few other guys were sick, is the word that's going around. Is it more dehydration or what? I mean, the fact that Murray missed a practice early in the week because he was dehydrated, and now, he's sick and a few other guys were sick, whatever that means, that's, a bit concerning right now at this point. I mean, obviously, DeMarco Murray, a good, maybe it's just something temporary, but the fact that he was dehydrated early in the week and now he's, sick a few days later, maybe it's something small, I don't know, but missing multiple practices, a few other players getting sick. I mean, I guess we can only hope that it's just a temporary dehydration issue or whatever. That's, I guess, a bit of concern, concern number one. We'll see how things, as we move into the second week of training camp, see how things look there. Now, Kiko Alonso, this is a bit of a concerning issue as well. Yesterday, I guess a few days ago, it didn't really come out until yesterday, but supposedly Kiko Alonso suffered a concussion a few days ago at the NovaCare. And now these are non-contact practices, as most of us know, many of us know. I don't know however many of us know. And the idea that this happened in a non-contact like just maybe a general collision, nothing even serious in, pads and contact drills. It's a bit concerning. The fact that, the way Kiko Alonso, obviously he missed last season, but the fact that Kiko Alonso, the way he played, he's a lights out, go get him kind of linebacker out there. Playing, I don't know, maybe like Steve Coates was playing with his hair on fire, like Steve Coates would say about some of the Philadelphia Flyers at some points in time. And the idea that he's getting, this isn't even on the field. Could this be a possible, could he possibly have a concussion issue? Because if this is happening in just a general non-collision kind of, non-contact situation, what about when you get out there on the field in the regular season? And, I don't know. It's a bit concerning to me. And I guess, a bit ironic in a sense. Looking at what happened, I guess, looking at the story here, apparently the most notable injury to, being to Kiko Alonso, according to Eagles tight end Zach Ertz, Alonso suffered a concussion during the team's Tuesday practice at Lincoln Financial Field. It's unclear whether the injury occurred because Alonso didn't leave practice early. Now he won't be able to return to practice until he passes through the mandatory concussion protocol of the NFL. And in the meantime, obviously you got D'Amico Ryans and Michael Kendricks being the bulk of the first-team reps at inside linebacker. So that's pretty much that. Now, going back to, of course, DeMarco Murray, for the second time in 4 training sessions, Murray did not practice in team drills, unlike Sunday when he did in individual drills. However, Murray was not on the practice field at all. He was reportedly feeling sick. Ryan Matthews took most of the first-team reps at running back with him out. One would expect Murray should return to practice soon. So it's really, it's really an odd situation with a few Philadelphia Eagles. In a few, key Philadelphia Eagles to that. Alonso, it's maybe a little worse. He's got to go through the concussion protocol, and I don't know. Could this be the beginning of a concussion issue? I don't know. And then DeMarco Murray, missing a couple practices here and there, whether it be dehydration or illness, I don't know. And it's funny. Some people were bringing. I don't really. I'm not really invested in the Washington Redskins and Deshaun Jackson, but supposedly that Deshaun Jackson separated his shoulder or whatever because he ran into a sled I mean, it kind of sounds like, if there's anybody that has a link to footage of this or something, I mean, that's sounds like it sounds like something that's blooper reel worthy. Again, not that I am, I guess amused by that, but that not that I really care, but people are bringing it up how Deshaun Jackson, it's just kind of like symbolic of the speedy guy Deshaun Jackson is, and it seems like, unfortunately, for Deshaun Jackson, that speed, I don't know, him running into a sled at practice and separating his shoulder, it's a little ironic sometimes how those things happen, but I don't know. It sounded like a blooper reel worthy kind of thing, but since it is showing up here in the Philadelphia Eagles news feed, even though, again, he's in Washington now, I guess but then again, I mean, we're hearing about things from Sean McCoy and having, parties advertisements on his Instagram and everything, so I guess it's only fitting we also get injury updates like that from Deshaun Jackson. But anyways, I guess I digress, as they would say. Now, as far as quarterbacks goes, I've been hearing that Tim Tebow, I guess for those who are wondering where he may fit in this team, I've been hearing that, I heard the other day that he was in practice and he threw like one pass, and then other than that, it seemed like he was in a read option setting. Pretty much other than that. So I gotta think that Tim Tebow has a pretty significant chance of being, of making the team, being the third stringer, I guess, being a guy maybe they bring out for the read option, I guess. Again, I mean, I've mentioned before how, well, if you're going to make a habit out of bringing him out strictly to run read option plays and whatnot, then, other teams may catch on to that, and that might, it might backfire a little bit, but I guess I'll digress, as they say again. Now, let's see. I have a Twitter feed here of things that are going on in Eagles training camp. Lane Johnson from Tim McManus. Lane Johnson on Sam Bradford. He just has to get his confidence back. All these high draft picks, they go to these bad teams with bad O-linemen, and they get their confidence ruined. That's basically what it is. That was just minutes ago. What did I had something up here as I scroll down. Apparently, Aldon Smith was released from the 49ers just minutes ago, according to Elliott Shore-Parks. Let me click the load more button. I had something pretty good here. Let's see. It was something from, what was it? No, Jeff Mosier. But I had to reload the page and now go through it. Here's somebody tweeted, I saw a picture of Foles the first day of OTAs, and I gotta say, his arm looked atrophied. Happy we avoided that. Somebody randomly tweeted.
That pisses me off. That's my teammate.
Well, he's not our teammate anymore, but anyhow, let's see. We're getting there. Here it is. All right. From Matt Lombardo. Matt Barkley airs it out to nobody in particular. That's how Day 5 ends for Matt Barkley. So if you're gonna ask me, that coupled with the idea that Tim Tebow's out there supposedly doing read options, and you got Sanchez at the number 2. I don't know. This could be it for Matt Barkley, as far as I'm concerned here. It's not looking good for him. And then right about Brandon Lee Goten. Really impressed with Sam Bradford's performance at Eagles practice today. Quick release, very accurate, great decision making. Also another day where Bradford got most, if not all, of the first team reps. And, he has a hashtag QB competition next to it because, again, supposedly, Chip Kelly, earlier in the offseason supposedly asserted that, it's kind of a competition between him and Sanchez. And no, it really shouldn't be. Let's be real about that. When, one guy's making $13.5 million, you bring him here in, with him making that kind of change or whatever. I mean, no, Bradford, we know what Sanchez is. Bradford, obviously the first hurdle is, can he stay healthy? And the second is, how high of a ceiling does he have here? Running this Chip Kelly offense or whatever. Maybe, again, mix in some Tim Tebow read options in there, maybe to spruce things up a little bit. And
Our God is an awesome God.
So that's pretty much. So yeah, I mean, I've heard good things with Sam Bradford, and he's coming along pretty well with his recovery, and he's kind of on track to get back out there in the field. But again, I mean, this is all non-contact stuff, throwing the football right now. We got to wait and see how he looks, at least in preseason snaps and everything like that. I'm not going to get overhyped about anything yet until the we're underway with the games, and that's the bottom line. So that's pretty much that. Yeah, I mean, Bradford with fist pump after hitting Selleck with a TD pass. Randall Evans nearly picks off Matt Barkley again. Another thing from Matt Lombardo. After Bradford TD to Selleck from 20 yards in 11-11, Sanchez entered 11-on-11. Sanchez enters and is picked off downfield by Jalen Watkins. Elliott Shore-Parks, to make note of that. Watkins with the interception off Sanchez threw it right to him. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It looks like, I don't know. It's sounding like it's almost. I mean, it's only camp, so I mean, who knows? But it's sounding like it's Bradford or bust here. Again, with the occasional maybe Tim Tebow read option thrown in there, I guess, because I don't think throwing the ball Tim Tebow is going to fare any better than Matt Barkley. But anyhow, that's pretty much where we're at right now. We've got some major storylines coming out of camp, and it'll be interesting to see. It's just going to be interesting to see, I guess, with the DeMarco Murray, obviously. Hopefully him and whoever else is sick as of late, if I guess hopefully they can get better, and Kiko Alonso with the concussion protocols, not good, I guess, is the best way to put it. So yeah, I mean, but other than that, I mean, I guess we got some good things to talk about. I mean, at least in the the quarterback department. But again, I can't go overboard until I see it translate on the field in game situations. Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, as always, is a way to share your thoughts. Maybe any stories you may get up at. There was an open practice the other day. Were you down the NovaCare Center to see, or I'm sorry, it was at Lincoln Financial Field, if I'm not mistaken. Were you down to get a glimpse of any of that? Is there any kind of knowledge you may have to share, any kind of observations you may have? Share them as always in the YouTube channel as well.
What defines the perfect ball? It's not just about size when it comes to Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. We prepare our balls over time. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify.
And that slow-cooked texture is one of the qualities that make Brady and Belichick's meatballs stand above the rest. But it's also Brady's unique rubbing process that only he has the authority to perform.
When I pick those footballs out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
Once the balls reached an equilibrium, we're down to the rubbing process.
Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. When you're looking to make it a pasta night, we're doing a little catering. Like Brady would say, to me, those balls are perfect.
Number one box office attraction, number one WWE superstar, multi-time WWE champion, Brock Lesnar.
Time to revamp your office space, eh? Looking for an interior decorator? Look no further than Brock Lesnar.
Now that's the way a real man uses a sledgehammer.
Out with the old, in with the new. Give Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman a call.
Mr. Lesnar, you are the future of interior decorator. I think we're done.